This is the Wally and Methot Show live. Now, here are your hosts, Brent Wallace and Mark Methot.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Wally and Methot Show, brought to you by sportsinteraction.com, Canada's online leading casino and sportsbook. Sign up today and enjoy the most competitive odds on all sporting events across the world. Sportsinteraction.com/Wally Methot is Mestradamus approved. Hi, Mark Methot. Nice to see you.
Hi.
Now, we're going to try something today. I have no idea how this is going to work. Mark Methot has been set up to be able to chat in the YouTube chat room. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I'll just leave it at that. Okay. So good luck typing away, Meth, if you can figure it out. Also, before we get any further, I need to ask you about something. You're a big social media guy. Something you posted the other day, I think needs clarification. Alex, can you show me the picture, please? Okay, this you posted on Instagram is about 15 pillows.
Oh my God!
I'm assuming it's on your wife's bed, your bed. Can you explain this to me? There are 1, 2, 3, 5 rows of pillows. I can tell.
How much time do we have? You know what I mean? Listen, I'm all for throw pillows. You know. It's okay. I get it. It looks good. Obviously, when I was living on my own as a bachelor, before I had a family and a wife, there were no throw pillows. I bought a couch. Whatever it came with was what I had in the living room. Ellie, my wife, God bless her, believes in throw pillows. So we must have over 200 of them in our home, like spread out throughout the dining rooms, the living rooms, the bedrooms, whatever, you name it. That's our bedroom. There's about 5 different layers, like deep, of throw pillows that I have to take off the bed every night before we go to bed. And I'm the one that's responsible for taking them off. She puts them on. And I have to meticulously put them in the proper area in the corner of the bedroom, because God forbid if they touch the floor, because we have dogs, of course, that sleep on the floor. So I'm in a bit of a hole here, and I don't know how to get out of it, because they just seem to keep multiplying. Every week there's new pillows that show up from HomeSense. So I'm willing to accept any advice out there if people are willing to kind of hit me up in the chat or whatever you were doing and give me some advice.
How many pillows do you think you own in your house?
Well, probably, I think in my initial count, I had assumed it was about 20, 25. It was completely off, because my wife corrected me when I was making fun of her for this the other night when we had friends over. And I believe the count's over 200 pillows, Wally. And we're talking like nice pillows, fur pillows, faux fur, whatever it is. I need a beer.
Well, there's no other beer to have than a whitewater beer. And let me bring this point to you right now, since you brought it up. I'd like to talk about whitewater. If you go there right now at shopwhitewater.ca, they have this package. It is called the 12 Beers of Christmas. It's currently on sale. You can get it for home delivery. Obviously, it's 12 different beers. You can get home delivery, free home delivery for the Valley or Ottawa. Go pick it up, or go stop at 78 Pembroke Street in Cobden and pick it up. Of course, they also have this other stocking stuffer, Meth, to let you know about. You can get 1 can of beer of your choosing and 1 piece of glassware for $10.95. It's called a stocking stuffer. It's amazing. So I suggest go to shopwhitewater.ca, fill that up with Christmas stuff, and get it delivered. Anyway, that is Shop Whitewater, and that is brewed by our friends at Whitewater. Now, without further ado, I'd like to bring in Alex. Do we have our guest on the line?
Hey, there she is. Look up, Wally. Lift
Cheryl Pounder. Great. How are you?
Is there okay? You can hear her? Okay, good.
Yeah. Just so before we get into this, I just want to let people know how impressive Cheryl Pounder is. I dug up some notes, and I just want to point out that you're a 5-time world champion. You're a 7 Nations Cup gold medal. You also got a silver medal. You're an all-star selection of the 2005 Women's World Hockey Championship. 2 Olympic gold medals, by the way. And then, of course, you've done some color commentator work, and you're now a star at the TSN family. So we are so happy to see you on board. Thanks, Cheryl.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm pretty excited. I was just looking at those 12 beers of Christmas, and I've been known to enjoy my beverage or two. So do they deliver to Mississauga? Where can we find it?
They don't just deliver it in a truck, but you can get it shipped to Mississauga. Absolutely.
All right. We're going to have to
I
We'll
work
hook
on
her up.
that. So next time I'm on,
Cheryl,
I'll
we're
track
gonna-
one while we're doing
Yeah,
it.
we'll take care of you. Don't worry about that. Just send us your address and we'll take care of the rest. Wally will.
All right,
Wally
all
will
right.
do it.
Just to know, yeah, I love a good pint, so I'm in on that.
I'd also like to point out that Matt notices nothing about anything I do and has not commented on my Christmas decoration here on set. This.
What is that?
This
Is that's a weed?
Okay, so what I'll explain this. When I moved out at like 20 to go to school, I didn't have any tree, and my mom was very upset that I didn't have a Christmas tree. So she bought this for me at like the dollar store, and I've now put it out every year since. And so it's like, I don't know, 27, 28, 30 years old. So there you go. There's my Christmas tree.
I actually wish I knew that you were going to show that, because one of my daughters made one, I'm going to say in grade 2. And every time we put it on the mantle, it looks a little inappropriate. It's a tree that's rounded at the top, and every time we have guests over, they stare at it and they go, "Pounder." I'm like, she made it in kindergarten, and we're leaving it up. So it's the focal point of some good conversation. So I'm going to make sure that I bust it out and show it to you guys at some point.
Nice, very nice.
Matt started decorating for Christmas, I think, back in August. So I'm curious, are you ready? Is your tree up?
Okay, so if I could turn my camera around, which I can't because I'm not that tech savvy, I would show you there are 3 boxes in my living room. There is no area in here that you can walk through because I am organized chaos. My house and everything in it looks very similarly to my living room floor, which is chaos. But certainly, I normally am done by now. I am one of those November 1sters. I know it's this big controversy here in my family. That I love it when I walk in the mall after Halloween and I see it all. I don't really walk in the mall though, guys. I don't really shop. So anyway, I love Christmas. It's my favorite time of the year, but I've just been so busy that I haven't had the opportunity to get it up yet. But that's my plan tomorrow night. Get up my tree. My homemade Christmas tree, by the way.
Oh, by the way, is it fresh? Nice. Oh, sorry, is it real or is it a fake tree?
Oh, no, it is fake all the way. Yeah, I've never actually had a real Christmas tree. I've just heard what a pain in the ass those pine needles can be and how cleaning it up, right? So I've never had a real one. I just put on a scented pine that makes it feel real.
We have a real tree and it's a mess, but we felt that the kids should at least have one growing up. So the last few years we've had a real tree in the house and I hate it every year because it's just a mess. And then you wonder, is it going to fall over this year or not? All right, because this always excites Meth when we do these kinds of conversations. Let's move on, shall we? We got lots to talk about when it comes to the Ottawa Senators. Both of you do a fantastic job of breaking down and analyzing what's going on. I first would like to start, however, with a topic we like to call biting mad. The biting incident between Brendan Lemieux and Brady Tkachuk the other night. So, Matt, you played in the game. There have been a lot of people on basically Brady's side saying there is no place for this in hockey. Have you ever experienced something like this, and what is your take on the play?
So, if I had ever had another female bite me?
Yeah. Well, there's potential there, and I would lump my daughter into that category.
Yeah. Well, my kids did it when they were young, and you're not supposed to bite them back, right, as a parent. But no, this is different. No, I think there's no place in the game for biting. It's, no matter how heated it gets, you do it the way you're supposed to do it. You fight, and for me, that's just not called for. And I was watching it as well, and I was like, is he saying bit? Is he saying he bit him? And my husband and I were watching. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what he just said. He bit him. And so it was over and over and in front of the camera, of course. And that obviously caught wind. And but no place in the game, in my opinion, for biting. Yeah,
no, I agree, Cheryl. And I think from my experience, I mean, I've never been bit in a game. I've never been in that position. I mean, I've had issues with my fingers, as everyone knows, but it was just from sticks and whatnot. But I can't imagine what would prompt somebody to be willing to do that. Like, I can understand, and this is where I start questioning what was happening in that little dog pile on the ice, right? Like, was Brady's hand around his face? Was he trying to smother him? Like, so And I'm on Team Brady. Full disclosure, like I grew up watching Lemieux's dad play. I was never a fan of his. I hated Claude Lemieux. I respect what he was able to bring to the table. It was entertaining, but just to go back to my original point, I don't understand what the hand was doing there. Was Brady just trying to push his face into the ice? At that point, when someone's jamming your head into like a hard surface, you might make an argument that anything is fair game. I don't know, but again, in the moment, that's one thing. But at the same time, I would never advocate for biting. If kids are watching, do not bite. Yeah. Cheryl and I are on the same page. There's no room for it in the game.
Yeah. And you do, anytime that you're in that position where you got someone's hand in your face and you're heated and you're emotional, maybe that is what prompted it. But certainly, again, you have to have the ability to have the restraint not to bite. I mean, biting is just off the table. It's like hitting a guy below the belt, right? Like there are certain things that you just don't do. And even if you're compromised, maybe he shouldn't have had his hand in his face, but it's part of the game, and you have to maintain that level of rational fighting, if you will. I don't know what the word is for it, but no place in the game, in my opinion, even though there's always extenuating circumstances, but you got to find a way to just hold off with using your teeth.
So one thing you both have seen a lot of lately is Brady Tkachuk speak. He speaks very well. He's usually pretty good at towing the line, doesn't say a lot. So I want to read this comment to you and tell me what you think of just how I'm going to say how pissed off he is. Quote, "This is the one time I'm going to answer this. It was the most gutless thing somebody could ever do. This guy, you can ask any one of his teammates. Nobody ever wants to play with him. This guy's a bad guy and a bad teammate. He focuses all on himself all the time. This guy's a joke. Shouldn't be in the league. No other team wants him. He's going to keep begging to be in the NHL, but no other team is going to want him. He's an absolute joke." Like, it's outrageous. Kids don't do that anymore. Babies do that. I don't even know what he was thinking. It's just a complete brickhead. He's got nothing up there. Bad guy, bad player. Like, you never hear this kind of stuff, rarely, in the National Hockey League or in professional hockey. This is a pretty pissed off Brady Tkachuk. Did he step over the line, Cheryl?
Well, first of all, I'm surprised he got the mic. No, it's interesting. I think there is value in his honesty. I think, when you talk about a guy being that pissed off about something and being bitten, certainly he can talk to that. But I think when you listen to how upset he was about it, I think sometimes when you're heated and you're emotional, you can go over the line a little bit. Like, again, so there's these two things. I respect the honesty and I think it has to come out. But then there's a point where I think it can be just a little bit too much. And I think that's where he went. But he's a young guy. And I think as he matures, he'll figure out that line as well. But it's one of the reasons why I think everyone is gravitated and they're pulled, because he's a polarizing guy. The energy, the honesty is what makes you love him. But at the same time, I think as he grows through his maturity, he'll realize, maybe, I didn't need to add in bad guy 8 times. Or whatever number it was. So I think from that standpoint, I think, respected the honesty, love the fact that he came out and said certain things, but then, he could have stopped there.
No, I'm with you on that. I think, and you touched on it a little there at the start, Cheryl, where for me, at least, now that I'm removed, I'm on the other side. You and I are both obviously not playing anymore. I just love the entertainment value involved. I mean, people sometimes take this so personally, but it's an entertainment business. And it's refreshing to see somebody show a little bit of color and a little bit of emotion. And I do agree. There's a line you have to toe and you don't want to go too extreme. And I can't think of a worse thing to be called than a bad teammate, like especially in the hockey community, where we're usually pretty conservative and reserved when it comes to media, but to be called a bad guy, that cuts to the core. So right now, if I'm Brendan Lemieux, I'm thinking about that in the room. I'm sure his teammates are probably gathering around him, as they should. But at the back of your mind, I feel like that's just creeping there. Like, he's probably wondering, am I in fact a bad guy? Can I be a better teammate? And it plays games with you. I remember, that brings me back to a story when I played. And Pacioretty, we were playing against Montreal. Pacioretty was obviously there. And I think we were playing them in the playoffs. And Patches was like, "Hey, Methot," because we were going back and forth and I was playing him really hard. And he goes, "I heard about you. And I'm like, it bothered me.
What did you hear?
It legit. Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, okay, Christ, what does he know about me? And then the next period, Mark Stone comes up to me and goes, "Hey, Pacioretty told me he heard about me. What is he talking about? So he was using that same insult with all the guys. So that gave us reassurance. But my point is, it stuck with me, and I still remember it to this day.
It messed with you. It messed with you. Yeah, no, 100%. I agree. You know, sending the message really, and just that it can creep in there, and I think that's big. But again, you know, you talk about it. I mean, clearly Brady Tkachuk, I think, knew what he was doing, and he's a smart guy. Yeah. He's a smart young man. When he grabbed the mic, I think in some ways, and on the other side of it, I think, you know, as he grows, I think he'll learn a little bit to tailor that. But again, it's so nice and refreshing not to just get the, you know, pucks in deep, the same stuff we're getting all the time, that we hear, we know the answer to before we actually get it. And so it wasn't scripted, which is what I love about it. There was energy and passion in it, which I love about it. Just that element of how far do you push that, where I think he could pull back a little bit.
Yeah, especially when you're captain, right? I think that's the argument that I'm agreeing with when you're saying that. It's like, that's your leader. You obviously want him to maintain a level of professionalism. But again, I still maintain, I like the entertainment value. And
I think that's part of his youth, right? I think he's going to grow within that, when you talk about sometimes of his play on the ice as well, it's you can see that he's young and he will learn these things and how to gauge that energy and learn when to use it, when not to use it, when to prompt something. But again, I just think that's part of growing into leadership, as well as learning in these moments, you know, how you'll do it next time. But again, it's who he is right now, which is, I think, why everyone sort of just knows that it's authentic. And I think authenticity and being genuine is something we don't always see, and that's something I think people are gravitated towards.
I will say, if you didn't see, Jonathan Quick came out in defense of Brendan Lemieux. Part of his quote is, "He's a valuable player who sticks up for his teammates. We all support him. I'd rather have him on my team over that kid any day of the week." So at least there are some people sticking up for Brendan Lemieux, and I like how it continues to go back and forth. Except they only play these 2 games against each other until next season.
Would have been great to see it again, eh? But no, I agree. You know, both sides have to protect their guy, right? And I think that's what's important here, and that's what they're doing. And especially with the messaging, where they probably felt it was offside in some ways. So, you know, both sides doing their part to take care of their team, and that's what they should be doing.
Mm-hmm. NHL referee Tim Peel said he thinks that he should get over 10 games for this. I looked up biting incidents. The only recent one I could find was Anton Roussel got a $5,000 fine, the maximum allowed, for biting Mark-Edward Vlasic. I think it was like 2017. There's certainly been a huge shift to what people now expect to happen. Cheryl, I'm going to start with you. What do you think that he should get in terms of punishment here?
Oh, I'm up there. I think you're setting, you know, whether, you know, it's back in 2017 and you're looking towards the future, if they're trying, and players say, trying to eliminate some of this stuff from the game, they need to be harsh on it, I think. And I think that it'll be upward somewhere in around there. But again, you know, when we saw the pinholes on his hand twice, you know, you're like, oh, you didn't bite him. You didn't just bite him once. And I guess that, you know, that'll have to be clarified on call. But once that's clarified, if it is, then I think that it's going to be up there for sure.
Meth, how many games would you give him?
I'm kind of stumped on this because you mentioned Roussel and the $5,000 fine. Like, I don't even know what the bar set at this point. Like, what's the standard with this type of disciplinary action? I mean, I'd like to see him get suspended. I'll say that. I mean, I think 5 games is legitimate. I mean, the fact that you know, potentially need a tetanus shot after an NHL game, to me, speaks volumes. So, you know, give him at least 5 games. 10 seems very aggressive, but then again, that's, you know, it's subjective. You can argue it depending on how you feel about it. Disciplinary action is needed. I think more than a fine is justified. So 5 games for me would be fair.
I'm with you there. I think anywhere from 5 to 10. I mean, 10 is harsh, but I mean, he did have, was that, guys, I have a question. Was that like a sterile wipe that they handed him to in the box that he was like wiping down with? Was it?
I don't know. It could have been.
I think so.
His teeth. Like, you're right. Like I'm looking at him, and you know those little, you know, when you're having too many wings and you got crap all over your face, and you got the little napkin wipe, the little towelette. I was like, is that what they just gave him, like a sterile towelette? I was kind of staring at it when he was in the box. I'm like, I think it is. He's using a steroid on his hand. Nuts.
Yeah, it's wild. Brendan, by the way, Lemieux does have an in-person hearing. Doesn't mean he's going to get 5 or plus games, but it certainly would appear to be that way. So we'll wait to see what the punishment is handed down probably later today. Okay, moving on. Mad Matt, brought to you by BEI, Bonnechere Excavating Inc., helping to shape the Ottawa Valley. Go to BonnechereExcavating.com and remember to slow down in construction zones. I just want to okay, Cheryl, I'm going to start with you because I feel like Meth and I have talked about this ad nauseum. What is your reaction to sending Matt Murray down to Belleville since he's cleared waivers, making $6.25 million? Where does this go from here?
That's a great question, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, when we heard he was on waivers, I mean, right away, you're like, that's a gut punch for a guy, right? I mean, that's a gut punch. And it's clearly, you know, the message that they're fed up. They know they need better goaltending, but in some ways, I think it's deflecting problems that they have, really focusing the energy on just their goaltender, and pointing sort of the finger in one direction, which of course, I'm sure Matt Murray would be one of the first ones to tell you he hasn't been stellar in his time in Ottawa, very lackluster to say the least. But there's a lot of deficiencies with the Sens right now. And if, you know, we can talk about them you know, continue on and talk about them. So I think in some ways after DJ Smith essentially called him out, we knew something was going to happen. But I do think in some ways it's deflecting the blame. And I think there has to be a lot of accountability on everyone's part here if they want to get out of this mess. And that's accountability is a two-way street, and it's looking at all areas of your game. And certainly he is one of them. And getting sent down, it'll be his choice and how he responds to this, which will be very, very difficult when you won 2 Stanley Cups, no question. But how he reacts, one, I mean, big question, will he play for the Senators again? And 2, you know, what they can continue to do from the defensive ends, in particular, you know, between the pipes. But again, when I look at this, I think it's definitely just creating a focal point to their problems. And I think it's more than just that area.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. This isn't just a goalie issue. You've gone through 3 different goaltenders. Like, I would understand blaming one guy in particular if the other 2 are performing fairly well and they're winning you games. But what is, like, they've lost what? Was Murray played? How many games have Murray played, Wally, in the last 13 games? Like, was it like 25% of those games?
25%. I think he's
0-5 this season. He's
played
0-5,
right?
No, I understand. Yeah, but the team as a whole don't have a lot of points, right? So
no.
And I don't like the way they handled it. I'll just say this right now. I know this isn't getting me any brownie points with anybody, but I don't care. I don't like the way they handled it on the road. I know it's a business, but you're talking about a $6 million player, supposedly your number 1 goaltender, who gets told he's going to get sent down, middle of a road trip, creates a logistical nightmare. It destroys his confidence. It's not good for anybody. It creates all these talking points. Look what we're doing right now. So it draws more negative attention to the group and the team. I thought it was very reactionary. And, you know, I'm not there. I'm not in the room, and I don't know how the group feels about the goaltending in particular. I don't know how the players are feeling about it. But, you know, to me, like, he comes back from COVID. He has one skate with the group. Then he has a pregame skate with the group. And then what? And then he has a bad game. Sure. Give him that. In San Jose, he didn't play very well, but you didn't really give him a chance, right? And I know he's had some chances throughout the season, but we know how players have responded to COVID. Like, you look at like Wheeler and Scheifele, they have not been the same since COVID. Their stats are terrible. So give them an opportunity at least. And so you guys know how I feel about it. I'm not a fan of the way the team handled that in particular. I think there's, like Cheryl said, there's a bigger issue at stake. There's a lack of depth up front. There's a lack of depth on D. It's very apparent with Batherson out of the lineup and Pinto out, 2 guys, all of a sudden the team's struggling just to score goals. So there are some big holes right now. There's some defensive struggles going on. Where do you even begin?
Well, you know, it's funny that you comment on that, because it's true. When you talk about that sort of sending him down, he had multiple injuries. And again, excuses are very real too, right? But they don't get you any further ahead either. So on behalf of the organization, or looking at the organization, it's true they've had COVID issues, no question. It is true that they have had injuries. It is true. And all of these are valuable, and excuses are real. They're real. but they don't get you any further ahead while you sit there and talk about them. You have to do something about it. And that's where I think the Senators have sort of lagged behind, is they haven't, with Pinto out, getting a centerman to insulate. What about their defensemen? They talked about getting a top 4 defensive defenseman. They really haven't did that. I mean, Lassie Thompson has done a really good job in his 6 games in the NHL, but the fact of the matter is he's partnered in your top unit with Shabbat. Now that's an issue.
Exactly.
And so when, he's done a great job, but that's an issue. And so, when I reflect back on Matt Murray, I actually think about a situation we were under back in Salt Lake City when we won the Olympic gold. We lost 8 straight games, for those of you who don't know, to the Americans. We won 1, okay? We won 1. But in the process, our team had been named. And we had the pomp and circumstance around it. We get, the little kid comes out on the ice with us. We got our jersey. It was a marriage. And we lost our 8th and final game, and our coach cut a veteran out of the blue. Family had tickets for the game, because they recognized that they'd made a mistake. What we realized in that moment too was that player had been a scapegoat for all of us at that time who weren't performing. And so we had to rally around the fact that it could have been any one of us who were playing like crap. And, she happened to be the scapegoat in that. And there were players around her, young youth, that stepped in and did a good job in their way because it was their opportunity. And there will be opportunity for some guys in Belleville, clearly, that they're getting to take advantage of that, which I think Lassie has done. But for me, again, you sort of deflect and you don't look at the holes that you have. And while you're making the excuses, everyone else is pushing forward. And so, yes, it's real, but something has to be done. And I think that's the biggest lesson in this, I would say, is that you can't stand still, because everyone can have an excuse that's very, very real. Yeah. And
it is certainly an interesting decision.
Yeah,
go ahead.
And a quick story on this: in Vancouver 2010, the women were training to go to the Olympics, and they were competing against one another for the same spots on the same team. And they were put in groups of 3, and they were to go and bike into the mountains in these groups of 3. And one group had a broken bike. And I remember one of my teammates telling me about this, and they had a broken bike. So they were bitching and they were complaining about their broken bike and everything. And so one group comes in and passes them, and then the next one comes in and passes them, and then the next one, while they're sitting there complaining about what they don't have. And then all of a sudden they realize, shit, well, maybe, sorry guys, we should put the broken bike in the middle.
That's okay.
And you know what? And you've got the freshest legs, so you get on it. And you know what? They didn't finish last. But the point of the matter was, while they were sitting around, they had a broken bike, they were right. While they were sitting around complaining about it, they didn't get anywhere. So I think from an organizational standpoint, you got to move.
And I totally agree. And they seem to be, right now, they seem just to be spinning their tires.
Yeah. I love that. Like what Cheryl just said is great, because no one outside of the organization is coming to help you. You have to fix this internally, and you have to be proactive, and excuses only get you so far. So accountability is a big thing. Like, I'd love to hear from people. I'd like to hear from the GM. I'd like to hear from everybody. Like, I know that DJ's had responsibility to do all the pressers, and you're putting a lot of weight on like Brady, who's a young captain, and he's probably wondering, okay, what am I supposed to say now? Because nothing's changing. So they need a jolt right now. And I'm not in the office, but I totally agree that excuses, everybody's got them, and they don't get you anywhere, and it's not going to make your team better right now. You got to make a move.
They're real. And it's hard. It is so hard because they are real, and it is unfair and all of those things, but it doesn't get you any further ahead. So you have to find how to work within that. And a nice example back in 2002, when we were losing all those games, I remember it was the veterans, and this is part of it. They're a very young group, right? They're a very young group that don't have all of the experience of having gone through a lot of this. And I remember the veterans pulled us rookies in and started talking to us about what to expect at the Olympics, and shared their knowledge about things they'd been through. And we really had to buy in within the room, because the world had signed, sealed, and delivered us a silver medal going into Salt Lake. And we had to find a way to hold our confidence, which is so, let's face it, that is so difficult to do. But we had to find a way within to share that and try and create culture within our room because we knew no one else was going to give it to us. So I felt like the veterans really had a good hand in that, and started to help us get to the next point. And it wasn't looking too far ahead. It was sort of staying in the moment. And that's what we did and ended up winning. But again, very, very difficult situation. It isn't easy. It's not fair, but it is what it is. And so I think there needs to be movement.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wanted to add one more thing, Wally. Just one more point.
We need a beer. Don't we need a beer to talk about this stuff?
People are going to be like, well, Matt Murray needs to be better and this and that. And the goaltending's been very inconsistent. Like, okay, I understand that. But look at their numbers. Like November alone, they've only scored first in 2 games of those 12 games. That's just one obscure stat. I understand that. But like, they're never even playing with the lead. So you can keep pointing the finger at your goaltending, but they're dead last or bottom of the barrel in almost every metric right now. It's not just their D zone. It's also offensively. It's on draws. It's on their goals against, their goals for. Like they're not giving themselves any opportunities.
Yeah, in the circle, it's been tough, right? When you're leaning through the middle, as you know, it's hard to have success. You need to start with the puck. They're not winning draws, which is critical. And also missed opportunities. We're seeing a lot of shots, we're posts, Formanton, right? That you get a lot of chances. You can't have 2 goals on a season when you're busting through on breakaways. And so all of these play into confidence, because if they get the lead, what happens? And is there more jump to their step? And so, as you know, as a former player, that it's just that layer of confidence when things go right. And, it needs to start with putting in. You're not going to win a game, right? If you're losing 4-0 and 4-2. So you got to find ways to put it in. And I think being creative that way. And then, of course, giving up point blank chances in your own zone, grade A scoring chances with lost coverage. So we can talk about the goaltending all you want, but unless, really, you really connect and tie in those other pieces, things are not going to get a whole lot better. So I think they got to look, be proactive with that, which is difficult. But again, they got to start capitalizing on some opportunities and finding ways to put the puck in.
You brought up November, Meth. I just want to point out they're 1-10-1 in the month of November as we get to now move to December. 442 goals against average and an 874 save percentage. Now, here's the thing that I'd like to, in the last 5 years with Dorian at the helm, they have been atrocious getting out of the gate. And the last 2 years, including this year, they're 4-14-1. They are the same record. Now they sit last in the league. Where is the improvement coming from? Do we Cheryl mentioned excuses earlier, that you can't always use an excuse. You got to make something happen. So yes, they get knocked out by COVID, and yes, they've dealt with some injuries, but other teams have had to battle through stuff as well. It just doesn't seem that this team is taking another step this year like we would hope to see them take.
For me, I mean, when you look at this team, though, you see some good things. Like, you see their young talent, and you see them on the forecheck sometimes, and you're like, yeah, they got it. Like, they've got it. That, when they're on the forecheck and they retrieve the puck, they're relentless on it. They got a guy above the passing option when they lose it. There's urgency there. They're not connecting. For me, a lot of it is what's happening as they hit their blue line. And the lost coverage isn't just down low, it's off of the rush. And so I think that's something that they can really hone in on. But when you see these guys activate when they have the puck, they do a good job. And so there's a lot of things to be excited about in this group. And I know this is a passionate fan base, and it's awesome to see. And they have great young players, and we know that. It's a matter of finding a few more pieces in this build to be able to round it all out. And so for me, I think when I watch them sometimes, I'm like, yes. And then they keep that game close, right? And then they find a way to lose it right now. And so they've got to just turn it and keep it close and find a way to win it. And so I don't think that the difference is that big. It's just the moments are bad.
Yeah.
So, Beth, let me ask you this. Which fan base would you rather be a part of right now? Montreal, Vancouver, or Ottawa?
Oh boy.
Well, I don't want to be Montreal, because I know that our talent pool, at least with the prospects, I mean, as far as I know, Ottawa's pretty deep right now, with obviously some of these really good players coming into the system over the next year or two. So I like Ottawa where they're at. And I'm not you guys know, I've posted some stuff in the past, made some bold predictions. I still think this group's going to be pretty darn good over the next couple seasons, but it's not just going to happen, right? Like, you have to establish an identity. You have to establish a legitimate system where when all these guys start becoming veterans, everything's automatic. You bring in these young players that are going to come into the system, into the organization. They're integrated properly. They know what they're doing. They can learn from each other. Like, this is, you can draft really well and still have a very poor team in a couple seasons. You know, you got to manage your team accordingly. So I do like where Ottawa's at right now. I do have concerns, like most people. And for me right now in the present, it's just trying to string together some wins to keep the fan base engaged. This is a business, and people want to see you win games, and they don't want to go drive all the way out to Canada to see your team get shelled every other night or get, take a bad loss. So I'm not going to get into the technical stuff because Cheryl, I'm right there with her with regards to what she said in her assessment about the egregious mistakes that are happening in the D zone. Like, the team's competitive for 2 periods, let's say, and all of a sudden there's just a huge breakdown either in communication or whatever it is. And all of a sudden you're just throwing all your papers in there and go, oh my God, I'm getting let down again. So if they could clean that up, I don't know what you do, but they have to fix that.
Yeah. And I think that's an area that can be fixed. I think it's awareness. And I think sometimes, and you can talk to this, but you can over try too. You just want it so bad that you become so puck focused when it starts crossing your line. And it's not just to me, below the goal line mishaps. And I said this off the rush where they're in good numbers, they have good coverage, and they just follow the puck and they leave a guy open. And a lot of that comes back to because you do want to win. You want it so bad that you stop being aware because you just want to get the puck. And, we saw that the other day in the goal, it's up in the air, 4 guys are looking at it. Next thing you know, it's lost coverage. And it's not a matter of the will. I don't think anyone would question the will or the want within the group. I think it's just settling it down. And what a win would do is settle it down. So it's sometimes just getting that moment under their belt. And you look at the run at the end of the season, right? 9 of 12. We got some W's to end the season, which created such an energy. And that isn't out of question. Could they, if they corral and rally, is this possible to create that energy around this group again? And you lock in the pieces, the young pieces in the next few years that you need to. You've got a great group here. It's just a matter of finding the other elements to build around it and cleaning up those details because they are there, right? They're holding close, and you're saying, oh, they have a chance to win this one, and then all of a sudden you see it unravel, and it's hard to get it back. And I think that's been
it's almost a confidence thing, right? Like you mentioned it, like they're all probably just, it's not lack of effort. You're just, as a player, when things are going well, everything's compounded and you start gripping your stick, you're like hyper focused, maybe a little too much on the puck. You lose your assignments. And with a young group like that's fragile, it's a dangerous combination, right? So this is, and I think we keep getting back to that original point. This has to get solved internally. They have to have these meetings now. They're painful. They're agonizing. You're almost stressed out just going to the rink in the morning. You're trying to avoid the coaches. Yeah, exactly. And so this comes down to the leadership group and the coaching staff. They have to get together. They have to come up with a good defensive plan that's simple. Just simplify things. Have a simple go-to play on the draws in the D zone. Get the puck out. Try to outwork your opponents. But again, much easier said than done. And I totally understand that.
Confidence is such a big thing. I know as a defender, confidence was something that killed me. My first world championship, I never played a shift in the final game. I don't want to talk about it. I'm still not over it. But anyway, I never played a shift in the final game. And I mean, not even a shift. And I was so young. And I started to be someone I wasn't because I was over trying. So I wasn't doing the things that I did well. So my defensive presence on the ice, staying between the dots, making sure my first pass was good and having a good gap. So just simple things that I always focused on that were keys to my game. All of a sudden I just held onto the puck too long. My option closed. And then, I put it in the shins, or I was overthinking. So it just took a little too long. And so as I wasn't playing, it was getting worse because now my brain is on fire, right? The old mental game between your ears, the human side of performance, I call it. And that was such a difficult piece to overcome. And it took me a long time or what I would consider what seemed like an eternity to get my game back. And the irony of that was I was a young defenseman, the youngest defender to ever make it. And then they cut me the following year because this is sort of the process, right? She didn't perform. Well, yeah, I know, but I was also 17 with, had 5 games under my belt and I freaked out. So, and a part of that was a testament of my knowledge and understanding of the pace of that game. But again, so I think simplifying it, whether it was Olympic final for me, I literally, honest to goodness, just sat there and said, simple, 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 get into it. Yep. Energy, simple, quick shifts, simple. And my first play was always a dump in, because I was like, all right, I'm just going to get over and get it in, get my legs under me. And right. But I was also high hard off the glass. I made a living out of it. Well, I didn't make a living. None of us women made a living, but high hard off the glass.
Well, Matt made a living out of it.
Get it out sometimes, right? Got to just get the damn thing out. So I think that just keeping it simple is exactly right. And then building off things that do go right.
Okay, I just want to go back to that game. I don't want to belabor it, obviously, but did you know going into that game, there's a chance that you're not going to see the ice or much of it? Like, were you caught completely off guard?
The coach had kind of alluded to the fact that I wasn't going to get much, but I didn't really think I wasn't going to get any. And I remember not feeling like I contributed. And so, you win a world championship and you listen, when you're in the AHL, all you want to do is make it to the big club, right? Or for me, I can't lend to that. I never played the AHL, but for me, it would be like, okay, I just want to make the national team and I'll do anything to get there. And then when you get there, you're a competitor. You're intrinsically motivated. No one who's playing at this level, they started when they were a young player with a dream probably, right? So they're intrinsically motivated to get there. And now I'm there and I want to be a part of it. And so, which is exactly what you should want. And so when I wasn't playing, I just thought, do I belong? And all these questions creep in. And then you might get that shift, which I did not get. And I don't even know if I would have been ready to handle to take it, the limited minutes as a young defenseman. Yeah. And so I really do the time it takes and the patience that some clubs have with their athletes in getting them there. And then how grueling it can be when they don't have the patience with you. So for me, it took a couple of veterans. I remember coming off, and it was Angela James, when I first went into the Hockey Hall of Fame, who said, hey kid, Rome wasn't built in a day. And I didn't even know what the hell she meant. But, just took me under her wing and said, you got this. And I think that was a big learning experience for me. And asking, we talk about feedback and accountability. I had to go find out why the hell I didn't make it the following year. And it was tough to hear the words that you need to work on this and this and this. But it would be how I reacted to it that would make the difference. And so, I think I learned a lot in reflection. I wasn't happy when I was going through it, but it was tough. And then listen to this, when you go to the 2005, 2006 Olympic year, they took 5 defensemen to the Olympics. Why? Not one of us played power play. Not one of us was on a specialty team. They had yeah. Basically said, you can't handle the puck, pounder. So we're taking 5 because we've got no one on the power play. Yeah. So again, been through so many different situations where you're like, okay, first of all, you're going to 5 because you don't trust any of us on a power play. And, so again, that can be deflating. So I think it was never the coach for me. It was always the room that sort of built us back up. So different for everyone.
So I'm going to assume 94 was the first world championship. So 99 is the second. So there's a 5-year gap. When you won that 99 one, was there a complete different feeling for you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And you'd love to say, listen, I got a gold medal at the world championship. I was thrilled. I was thrilled, but I felt like I contributed more in 99. And so I went in 1994, made it, got cut 95. I was still in the program, got cut 97, 98, didn't make the first Olympic team, even though I had tried.
Crazy.
And I remember being devastated, sort of sitting in my room thinking, okay, it's over. And you've got that demotion. This was my demotion. I've been there. I've won a world championship, and now I'm no longer even in the mix. And when I clawed my way back on, it was through, hard work, but again, working with people who could help me in the areas that I needed help in. And that takes a lot of authentic looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, okay, well, you suck at this, you need to work on this or whatever. And so when I was told I was going in 99, I can honestly say I was emotional. I was scared. I think I played afraid a little bit. So I became more defensive in nature because I didn't want to be a risk taker. And that would then pigeonhole me into what the rest of my career would be, in my opinion, because I didn't want to make a mistake. And I think sometimes when you play scared, you don't play free, and there is a fine balance. But when that happened, it sort of stymied my growth and creativity on the offensive side of the puck. But in 99, certainly I felt like I had made it, and then I would stay on the team until 2007 and go through the 2 Olympics that we would win. So where my role would change and, eventually be a strong defender on the team that would be called upon in the big minutes. Yeah. And I remember vividly in Salt Lake City in 2002 when we hadn't won a game and I step on the ice, and there was so much energy in that damn building. And I remember the final seconds of the game, and I was just through the moon because I had been on the ice a lot because I was a penalty killer. And when it was all over and we skated over to the boards, I looked at my parents and said, thank you. And I did not remember a shift I played in. It was incredible to have the gold medal put around your neck. I looked up at my brother in the stands, nowhere to lie, guys. He's wearing a Captain Canada cape, painted body. He's running down 10 rows of people, screaming at the top of his lungs while crying, that's my sister, let me at her. Like, I didn't even know he loved me. It was one of my favorite moments of the Olympics, right? Playing road hockey with brothers that just hit you in the head all the time.
Yeah.
And I've never watched that game again. And it was interesting. I asked Kim St. Pierre the same question when she was going into the hall. And I said, Kim, have you ever watched the game again? She goes, no, Pounds. I said, why not? She goes, oh, it's perfect. And I said, you're damn right, it's perfect. I ain't watching it again either. So yeah, just the perfect memory. Yeah.
Awesome. That's so good. By the way, Kim St. Pierre just went in the Hall of Fame. I guess, what's that like to watch teammates that you've gone to battle with over and over again being recognized, and finally more women being put into the Hockey Hall of Fame, which is what it should be?
Well, I think it's fantastic. I think you look back to where the game has come from, and the women that are in, they're the right choices. They are the right choices to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame. You talk about the build, the number of registration and increases in the women's sport is tremendous. And I think that they now have representation is unbelievable. And watching Kim go in and having all of us there was phenomenal, because the stories, you know what it's like, you get back together with everyone. Listen, women are no different than guys this way. We have our stories and what we've been through together, and you pick up where you left off with when you're talking with great teammates. But one thing about Kim is that, and I often say this, and I think it's pivotal on any team, she never gave up that weak one, the deflating goal. And because of that, we always knew that we had a shot, even when the Americans were better. And she stood on her head in Salt Lake City. I think her best game was actually the year before, where we had lost a ton of games. We won the final game in Minneapolis, and we shouldn't have. And I think sometimes we get a false sense of security when we do win. And we need to look consistently at when we're winning and losing. And that was probably her best game for me, because she saved my bacon a ton. So yeah, she was pretty awesome, and just a wonderful role model for her children and boys and girls alike in sport. So just thrilled to see her go in.
I could spend all day talking to you about your amazing hockey career. And I do have one more question before we go, which is a little bit off the board. We saw Brad Marchand the other day. I guess Artemi Panarin chucks his glove at Brad Marchand on the bench. Something I've never seen before. I guess I've seen the helmets get thrown on the ice, but never between benches. So have either one of you experienced something like this? And how much does someone have to get under your skin for you to lose it, to throw something at him on the bench? Meth, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that. I've had things thrown at me. Like when I played junior, we played in the old barns, like in Windsor, where like the fans are right above you. And I've had batteries thrown at me, drinks, you name it, because there was no security, and it was just a different game back then. But as far as like players go, not really. I mean, maybe the odd time a guy might kind of, like you're in a scrum and you drop your stick, the guy might kind of shoot your stick away to make it kind of a pain in the ass to go and pick it up afterwards. But I mean, that's gamesmanship. Like I have no problem with that stuff. It looks a little immature and ridiculous, but it's more storylines. It probably ended up on ESPN somewhere. Like, so, you know, you can make an argument that it's not how you want your sport to be viewed, but these are all little storylines that are happening in the big picture. And I'm all for it. I love it. I find it entertaining. It's more talking points for us media types now. So I'm all about it.
I was working in Sens game when that happened. I kind of laughed actually, and when I look back to my experiences, the only one that threw me for a loop, guys, no word of a lie, we're getting ready. I forget what Olympics was, and we were playing some guys teams, and the guy dropped his gloves and wanted to fight me, and I didn't know what to do. I kind of laughed. I was like, man, oh man, I'd love to say you should have seen him when I was finished with him, but I can't. I laughed. I didn't know what the hell to do. I thought, is he serious? Like, does he really want to fight me? Because I took him out on a one-on-one. But that was really uncomfortable because I sat there like, I'm 5'5". He's 6'2". Like, do I hit him? Because I know where I'm going to hit him if I hit him. So do I hit him? And, you know, I'm staring up at him and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I think I made him feel worse because I laughed. However, that's the most uncomfortable I've ever felt.
That's wild. By the way, Panarin got a $5,000 fine for doing it. But the thought that somebody has said something for you to get that wound up in a hockey, because stuff gets said all the time. But it's just such an art form to get wound up enough that you lose your mind to throw a glove.
Marchand, he's good at winding guys up though. Like, we played against him in the playoffs, and I've heard him. He's got a mouth on him. He's good at chirping other players. And when you've got this little fella skating around the way he does with his chin up as high as it is, that confident, it can get on your nerves a little bit. But you know, kudos to him. If you're able to get under a really good player's skin, again, gamesmanship. It's part of the game. It's what you do.
Yep. There's chirping in the women's game too, just so you know. There's lots of
I'm sure.
Who's the best chirper?
I'm going to refrain from getting involved in this one, so I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. But I did.
All right, just tell me who's the best chirper you ever played with?
No. Sealed. Not
really?
Not
Cassie Campbell. It's gotta be Cassie
Campbell.
Campbell. She talks crap.
I couldn't picture Cassie running her mouth.
No.
I couldn't do it.
You know what?
Kidding.
No, honestly, it's you know, I think it's always just the heat of the battle and just you know tendencies of players, so then you can pick on them. It's like anything in sport. You know their tendencies. You know what gets them going, then you do it sometimes.
Yeah.
Competitive edge within reason, right? Respectable within reason. So. Yeah. Oh, I forgot. Oh, guys, I forgot. I told Sam Cicerello I would give you an Ottawa because I've been waiting to come. Mark, we were supposed to be on a panel together, and then of course we got pulled back. So I told Sam I'd give you a big Ottawa there for our Sens producers.
Oh, we'll get it going.
Yeah.
He doesn't need any more attention. We'll get Whitewater provide the beers for you guys. Cheryl,
nice.
We appreciate your time. It's been phenomenal. And you do really, really good work. I watched you the other day. So people that don't understand, like, there are little mannerisms you can pick out on set just to understand how comfortable people are. Watching you on set, you are like you've a 20-year veteran. It's so easy and fluid for you. And I know there's chaos going on all around in the background because that's the way TV is. To watch you work, I think you are phenomenal at what you do.
Oh, thanks, guys. Well, you know, we got some great helpers over at TSN and some great guys just, you know, to be able to bounce ideas off of and talk hockey with, and always willing to share information, which I find is critical in life is people are willing to share, and they've done a great job of that with me. So I've really enjoyed the work and having a lot of fun with it as well. And thanks for having me on today. And like I said, next time I'll have my little Christmas tree, although we might need to put an X through it, and maybe a couple pints.
Absolutely.
Oh, and a Billy Miner
fans
pie,
very fortunate to have
because
you.
apparently I don't know what
Billy
that is.
Miner pie.
Guys, I had no idea until I came to Ottawa last weekend, and they were at the keg, and they're like, "You've never heard of it?" And we didn't get one; we had to run. And I said, "I have no idea what the hell is the Billy Miner pie. Like, do we need 8 forks for this pie?" And they're like, and then they went off on it. So it's been a topic of conversation around all of us right now that I actually need to get a try of this Billy Miner pie. But someone sent me a picture that has almonds on it.
Yeah. They're good though. They're really good.
Toasted?
Yeah,
You
I'm
don't
not
know.
really
Yeah.
sure. I haven't had one in years. Yeah.
Okay, just checking.
Wally could tell you all about it. He eats them every day, so that's good.
Okay.
I've never had a Billy Miner pie.
See, I'm not the only one.
No,
Jeez.
no. I debated saying that because I'd be like, well, of course everybody's had one, but in reality, I've never had one.
I never have room when I leave there. I'm too full because I go for the keg classic all the
Same.
time. Come on.
Exactly.
All
Always. How do you like your steak, by the way? Well done, medium.
Medium rare.
Okay,
Maybe
this interview is
medium
over.
rare. I'm a medium
Perfect
rare.
answer. Perfect answer. Yeah, Wally. Well, Cheryl, you know Wally just overcooks the shit out of all his red meat, so that's why he's looking for somebody to like validate his way of doing it, and he's never going to
Not
find
when
it
you can
anywhere.
throw it against a wall and have it bounce back to your plate.
Knock
That's
somebody
not-
out with it.
That's not, no. Sorry.
Yeah.
I like my ground beef well done.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
Well,
so is it
anyway.
charred like on the outside, like charred full on? Like when you cut it, you need like a fine
Charred
cheese?
inside and out.
It's allowed to have like a slight hint of pink.
Okay, so do you have
Yeah.
ketchup with it?
No. That's off. That's wrong. That's just foul.
Sorry, I just had to ask. Okay,
We'll talk soon, Cheryl. Take care.
bye guys. Thanks.
There goes Cheryl Pounder, who does phenomenal work at TSN with Sens games coverage. We're very fortunate to have her. We're fortunate that she stopped by. Matt, there's still lots to talk about. If you've got a few minutes, I want to get to
I think I do. Yeah.
the way the lineup looked the other night in LA. Now, it's all over the map because I think they were just trying to figure out a way to just generate something, right? When you put, Brady Tkachuk with Stützle and Connor Brown, and then it went Nick Paul, Norris, Ennis, Formanton, Gambrell, Sanford, Tierney, Shaw, Watson, and Lassie Thompson was a healthy scratch. So they move stuff around all over the place. That's not the point. I'm just curious of like, are they at a point now where they're out of answers? Now we will point out like Drake Batherson's going to return. He should be in the lineup Wednesday. They should have Adam Gaudette. They just picked up off waivers to be in the lineup. So someone's going to have to come out. Logan Shaw is on waivers to make room. He'll go down. But like, is it just a team that DJ Smith goes, just anybody, just help me?
Yeah. Well, that's so when you start seeing lines scramble up as much as they have, like you're getting zero consistency from a game to game basis. That's just, you're starting to get desperate. And that's not an indictment towards DJ or anybody in particular. That's just as a whole, the organization, they're just struggling that much. So the biggest thing, I mean, the answer is simple, is your Batherson hasn't been playing. As soon as he comes back in, it should settle the lineup back to the way it should be, where you get a nice little balance throughout those top three lines. I'm at a point now, Wally, where it's like, we can keep dissecting these lineup changes and nothing's really helping. I don't know what the answer is anymore. I think they are what they are.
Let me just put it to you this way. If they had, and this isn't to put it at the feet of goaltending, but if they had goaltending that stood on its head, something like Craig Anderson has done for many years in an Ottawa net when they didn't have a great group in front, I think we would, and if they had a few more wins, then we wouldn't be nearly where we're at this point. Is that fair? Like if they could get some guys to stop pucks, and I know that's asking a lot for guys that necessarily shouldn't be in that position, but if they had Matt Murray, the Stanley Cup winning Matt Murray, this would be a whole different conversation.
But would it though? I mean, goaltending can definitely be better, Wally. You're not wrong. But I don't know that that's the all end all answer here. I really don't. I think when I'm looking at their group,
no, but it covers up stuff, right? Like it covers up.
Yeah, you're right.
A mess.
It puts a Band-Aid on a really big deep cut, right? And
that was my
point. No, and I'm agreeing with that 100%. Look, they're in a really tough position right now, and now it's even more chaotic because you've just sent your $6 million goaltender back down to the American League, and he's going to be disgruntled. I mean, I know I would be. I would not be happy. Whether he believes he belongs there or not is relevant. I mean, every player at the NHL level, particularly a player who's won a couple Stanley Cups, will probably believe he belongs in the NHL. I know a lot of people are unhappy with the inconsistencies. I am as well. I'm sick of talking negative about a team. I'm sick of being critical. I think we all are. It'd be nice to sprinkle in the odd win here and there so that we have some nice little storylines to talk about. My view on this group is very simple. I know what they are. My expectation level was very reasonable going into the season. I didn't buy into the whole, every team's going to try to sell you a ton of hope. I never once assumed they were a playoff team. That's okay, right? We had this discussion last week. That's fine.
Yep.
If they're reasonably competitive, where they're, fighting for a spot perhaps, or they're not necessarily flat out of the picture by Christmas, that's good, because at least you're getting good fan engagement. If you're going to go to Canada to watch a game, there's a chance they might win that night. I'm at a point now, we're doing these Methstradamus segments and stuff like that. And I'm like, I got to bet against them every day now because I'm looking at the teams they're playing against and the numbers don't check out in their favor. Right. So, I got all these notes in front of me and I can try to analyze what's going on. They need more depth. They need better defensive structure. Defensively, they're horse shit. They are, and you can talk about their offensive woes, their goaltending woes. This is a collective thing where you need better back support from your forwards. You need better low puck support in the D zone. You need better communication with your goaltenders. You need better communication with your players that are going back on puck retrievals. You need to create some offensive sustained zone pressure to wear down your offensive players. Like, there's a million things I could spew off right now, and I'm sure the team is well aware of it. So, we're going to keep doing this little song and dance until this team starts stringing together some wins. They've got an opportunity coming up. They're playing, I think we had the schedule up earlier where they got Vancouver coming up. We saw the poll in the chat, right? Fans seem to think there's a good chance that they can win that game. Great. Okay. And that's not saying a whole lot, but I'm frustrated. I want to see this team do well. I think you're going to get a good jolt when Batherson re-enters that lineup. Sure. It'll create more stability through those top four lines where at least they have a shot in hell to win a game. And we'll have to wait and see how they do until then.
All right, so they're going to have Drake Batherson return, as we talked about, from COVID protocol. He's their leading scorer, no question. They're also going to get Adam Gaudette. I think he should be in the lineup on Wednesday. They picked him up off waivers from Chicago. He's played 15 games of the last 2 seasons in Chicago, so he hasn't played a lot of hockey at the National Hockey League level of late. He is a former Hobey Baker winner. I did speak to one Senator player yesterday who's excited to see him in the lineup, and I understand he's a waiver claim, but they still think that he brings something. Is this more Band-Aid covering though right now with Adam Gaudette?
I'm reluctant to say it's Band-Aid covering. I mean, I could tee off on the team right now if I wanted to, but I mean, I don't think it's a terrible move. Really. I don't. He's a player that I'm hopeful will bring some pace. His numbers aren't that bad and he's still a young player. Like he's not, he's a potential, it's a risk, but a very low risk move by the team, right? So you bring in a player that's on a team that's struggling big time, right? You enter him in there, see what he can do. Maybe he can bring a little pace to the lineup, juice up that third or fourth line, maybe depending on where they slot him. I don't mind it. At this point, they're desperate. They're gonna have to see what sticks. He's got a nice little resume. You mentioned there. He's a Hobey Baker Award winner. Let's see what he can do and just go from there.
But okay, they've picked up a few guys off waivers we haven't seen really. This Anton Forsberg was one. I guess Victor Mete being another. If it's a waiver pickup, it's not typically somebody that's going to work out or it's here for the long time. There's very rare that have an impact on the lineup.
Yeah, you nailed it. And I think we talked about that a little bit in the summer where we're kind of going over some of these players like Mete, how they've rarely work out for a team long term, right? Like I can't think of a player right now. I'm sure people out there could help us out, but it's not something you should be relying on. You have to make a big boy move, right? Like you got to go out there, do your due diligence, find a player that's roughly in his mid-20s, still has a lot of juice left in his tank, and you're going to have to give somebody up. That's just the reality of it. And you have to make a fair assessment, a good, fair, honest internal assessment of what you actually need to address. Is that another centerman? Is that a winger? Is it a good third line player? Is it a top four defenseman? Whoever it is, you have to commit to it. you're going to get rid of a player, probably a current player and or a prospect that you're looking forward to having in the lineup, and commit to that move. Until then, I mean, you're going to keep trying to, we mentioned the Band-Aid, Wally. We're going to have to keep bringing in Band-Aids to fill up the, to fill the void on that gap on a big cut that long-term isn't feasible. So I don't know enough about these young players. We were talking about Gaudette. I don't know anything about him. I looked him up a little bit online. I looked at his numbers. They looked okay. But to me, at this point, like you can't just hope on the reinforcements that are coming in, Wally.
No, and let's not even venture into the Evander Kane situation, because there's no way in God's green earth that he's coming to Ottawa, nor should he be.
No
We've
chance.
had enough examples
Wally,
of
really
why
quickly,
he doesn't need to be around this organization.
That you can make an argument if you're looking at a veteran group that's established, that has a really strong core of leaders. Okay, maybe if you're really hurting, you want to bring him in. He could produce. We know that. But yeah, it's a non-conversation in Ottawa.
Yeah. All right. That is it. We've got a big show coming up Thursday, by the way. But before we do that, just a reminder right now, it is Cyber Monday. Go to gongshow.com. They've got all their hats are on sale right now, all their toques, all that stuff. It's on for deals. So just go to gongshow.com and get in and order up some winter gear for yourself. It is Cyber Monday. So, Matt, before we go, I guess as we go, we're going to play a clip from Andre Waugh. Now, Andre Waugh played for the Ottawa Senators 20 years ago, I think it was, but he still remains a fan favorite in the city. You can catch him on RDS. He does a lot of funny stuff. He's done stand-up comedy with Matt Barnaby. It's not PG rated by any stretch of the imagination, but we did an interview with him just before this week. He's phenomenal. We're going to end the show today on how it started with Andre in our interview, and you'll get a sense of what the interview is about to be like. So without further ado, please enjoy the interview, and thanks once again for watching the Wally Methot Show. We'll see you on Thursday. Screw this, I'm recording it.
Yeah. You got to. Hey. So, Andre, can you just tilt your camera for us a little bit? And maybe turn your microphone on too while you're at it. I don't know. Yeah, there he is. Connected.
Okay, we got it. Woo! Hey, fellas.
Hey, buddy.
How's it going?
Andre, turn your fucking camera.
Oh, fuck. This way?
Yeah. Yeah, is that better, Wally? Is that
it's sideways?
It should.
Is it locked? Like, is the
Yeah, you might have to unlock. So you're unlock the camera so it like so you fill the screen.
That's what I was doing. I was going sideways this way.
Hey,
right?
There we go.
Hey,
That's how I do it usually.
First try.
Yeah, I didn't comb my hair. I didn't have any more dippity-doo in my compartment hair. So yeah, how's it going, guys?
Going good.
Great. How are
Hey,
you?
Brent.
Yeah.
It's been a while, eh?
A little bit. Yeah. I think now that you're a big TV star, you don't have time.
No, you guys didn't reach out. That's like, Spitting Chicklets, all those guys, they don't reach out. They're just big stars now. And, I'm just a nobody, but I'm glad to reach out, I'm glad you guys reached out, so, yeah.
You're the first, I think you're the first French Canadian. Is he not the first French Canadian we've had on, Wally?
No, I think you're someone else.
With Jacques Martin.
Oh yeah, sorry, Jacques Martin. Yeah, you're right.
Well, I think Andre needs to work on his conditioning. He's an individual that brings a lot of toughness to our lineup, and it's important that Andre do a little bit of extra to improve as a player and be part of this going down in the playoffs. Thank you, Jacques.
Oh, that's amazing.
I was gonna get to Jacques.
Brent, look at this. Hey,
what? Hey, there you go.
Hey, Andre,
Nice.
back in the day,
I
big
didn't.
head,
I didn't
looked
know
like
you had
Dennis
this.
Lambert or McGrattan, but They only did one. And I asked if I could keep it. Well, actually, I stole it, so I left with it. And they traded me.
Uh,
Oh, God.